The Ellis residence was unusually quiet that evening. The sprawling modern home, with its sleek glass walls and a vast, minimalist interior, often buzzed with activity, but tonight felt different. 14-year-old Maya Ellis sat cross-legged on her bed, scrolling through her phone while music played softly in the background. Her father, Ethan Ellis, the infamous leader of the biker club known as the Iron Titans, was away attending a high-profile rally, while her mother, a corporate executive, was out of town on business. Normally, Maya relished having the house to herself, but tonight, a sense of unease crept over her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Leo Harper, the boy she'd been secretly seeing. Leo wasn't like the boys she usually hung around. With his preppy attire, confident charm, and the air of privilege that followed him, Leo exuded an effortless coolness that fascinated Maya. He texted, "Hey, I'm outside. Ready to go?" Maya glanced at the time, earlier than they'd agreed, but her excitement outweighed her caution. She grabbed her jacket and headed out, her sneakers barely making a sound on the polished floors. Outside, Leo leaned against his sleek black car, his blonde hair tousled perfectly as if he'd walked out of a magazine. "Change of plans," Leo said with a grin as she approached. "Why don't we skip the restaurant and just hang out at your place? It's more private." Maya hesitated, her instincts flaring. "I was really looking forward to that new place. Let's just stick to the plan." Leo's grin faltered, replaced by a faint look of irritation. "Come on, Maya, it's just dinner. You trust me, right?" She bit her lip, uneasy but unwilling to cause a scene. "Okay, fine, let's go." The car ride started smooth enough, with Leo playing upbeat music and cracking jokes to lighten the mood. But something felt off. Maya noticed an odd smell lingering in the car, a bitter, acrid scent she couldn't place. She looked over at Leo, whose upbeat demeanor began to shift. His speech started slurring slightly, and his hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary. "Leo, are you okay?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. "I'm fine," he said, brushing her off. "Relax." But as the car sped up and swerved recklessly around corners, Maya's concern grew into fear. "Leo, slow down. This isn't funny." Leo laughed, the sound hollow. "I've got this, Maya. Don't worry." But worry was all Maya could do as the headlights of an oncoming truck suddenly flooded her vision. The sound of screeching tires and the violent crash seemed to stretch on forever. Maya felt the jarring impact as the car swerved uncontrollably, metal crumpling and glass splintering around her. For a moment, everything went silent, and then a wave of pain surged through her body like a fiery burn. When Maya opened her eyes, the world was a hazy blur. Blood trickled down her forehead, and her legs were trapped beneath the crumpled dashboard. She turned her head to see Leo, slumped over the steering wheel, but still conscious. "Leo," she whispered, her voice faint. "Help me." Leo stirred, groaning as he sat up. His face was ashen, and panic flickered in his eyes as he took in the damage. "Oh my God. Oh my God," he mumbled, fumbling with his seatbelt. "You have to call for help," Maya said, her voice gaining strength despite the pain. Instead of reaching for his phone, Leo turned to her, his expression shifting from panic to something darker. "Maya, listen, you need to say you were the one driving." Her heart sank. "What? No, I wasn't driving, Leo. You were." "I know, but my dad, he'll kill me if this gets out," he pleaded, his voice desperate. "Please, Maya, you don't understand. This could destroy everything for me." Maya looked at him, disbelief clouding her thoughts for a moment, her pain forgotten. "You're insane." Before she could say anything more, the sound of approaching sirens pierced the air. Leo panicked, stumbling out of the car and leaving Maya trapped inside, as the flashing lights of emergency vehicles drew nearer. The next few hours passed in a blur of bright hospital lights, the constant beeping of machines, and voices speaking quickly and urgently. Maya drifted in and out of consciousness as the medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize her. When she finally awoke fully, her father, Ethan, was standing at her bedside, his face a mix of fury and concern. "Baby girl," he said, his voice uncharacteristically soft as he reached for her hand. "You're gonna be okay. I'm here now." Tears filled Maya's eyes, but before she could speak, a nurse entered the room with a clipboard. "Mr. Ellis, I need to speak with you," she said, casting a quick, pitying glance at Maya. Ethan stepped outside, squeezing Maya's hand gently before he went. The nurse lowered her voice, but Maya could still make out parts of their conversation. Words like blood alcohol level, driver's responsibility, and under the influence sent a cold shiver through Maya. When Ethan returned, his jaw was set and his fists were clenched. "They're saying you were driving under the influence," he said in a low, controlled voice, his anger simmering beneath the surface. Maya's eyes widened in shock. "What? That's not true. Leo was driving. He made me get in the car with him." Ethan's expression darkened further, and his voice dropped to a deadly calm. "I believe you, Maya, but someone's lying to protect that boy, and I'm going to find out who." Ethan Ellis was not a man to be underestimated. The moment he left Maya's hospital room, his fury was barely contained. The notion that his daughter was being blamed for something she hadn't done ignited a fire inside him, one that would burn until he made sure justice was served. He marched down the sleek hospital corridor, his boots thudding loudly against the polished floors. His destination, the administrative office. Bursting through the door, Ethan found himself face to face with the startled hospital administrator, a middle-aged man with thinning hair and a constant anxious air about him. "Mr. Ellis," the administrator stammered, "what can I do for you?" "You can start by explaining why the police report says my daughter was driving under the influence," Ethan growled, leaning over the desk with a dangerous intensity. "Because I know damn well that's a lie." The administrator visibly recoiled, swallowing hard. I don't know the specifics of the case, Mr. Ellis, but I assure you, the hospital." Ethan slammed his fist onto the desk, cutting him off. "Don't feed me that corporate nonsense. I've been around long enough to know when someone's trying to cover something up. Someone's protecting that Harper boy, and either you're in on it, or you're too scared to stand up to his family." The administrator shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Ellis, I think you should speak with the police. This is out of our hands." Ethan's gaze was ice cold. "If I find out you're involved in this, you'll regret it. Trust me." With that, he stormed out, already dialing his lawyer as he made his way toward the exit. Back in Maya's hospital room, she lay in bed, her mind racing. The weight of the situation pressed down on her, fear and anger mixing as the reality of Leo's betrayal took hold. When Ethan returned, his face was grim but resolute. "I'm getting to the bottom of this," he said, pulling a chair up next to her bed. "But I need you to tell me everything, Maya. Don't leave out a single detail." Maya nodded, then began recounting the events of that night, the sudden change in plans, Leo's erratic behavior, and his desperate plea for her to take the fall. Ethan listened closely, his jaw tightening with every word. When she finished, Ethan's expression was set in stone. "He's not getting away with this. I promise you that." Across town, in a luxurious estate surrounded by manicured lawns and security gates, Jonathan Harper sat in his study, sipping a glass of whiskey. The patriarch of the Harper family exuded power, his reputation as a ruthless businessman making him a force to be reckoned with. But tonight, he was dealing with a problem closer to home. His son, Leo, stood before him, visibly shaken. "Dad, I swear, it was an accident. I wasn't thinking." Jonathan raised a hand, silencing him. "You weren't thinking? Do you have any idea what you've done, Leo? This isn't just about you. It's about this family's name, our reputation." Leo's voice cracked. "I didn't know what else to do. The cops were coming, and I panicked. I told her to take the blame." Jonathan's expression darkened. "And you think she'll stay quiet? Do you know who her father is?" Leo's eyes widened. "Her dad? What about him?" Jonathan leaned back in his chair, his tone icy. "Ethan Ellis isn't just some biker. He's dangerous. His club has connections that run deep, and if he decides to come after us, there won't be a courtroom in this country that can stop him." Leo paled, realizing the gravity of the situation. "What do we do?" Jonathan swirled his whiskey, his mind working quickly. "We'll handle it. I'll make a few calls, ensure the story sticks, and keep the police on our side. But you're going to stay out of sight. Do you understand me?" Leo nodded, but the fear in his eyes lingered. Back at the hospital, Ethan was already taking matters into his own hands. He contacted a trusted member of the Iron Titans, Jake Coleman, a tech-savvy biker known for his ability to uncover buried secrets. "Jake, I need you to dig into the Harper family," Ethan said over the phone. "I want to know who they've paid off, where the cops stand, and every dirty little secret they're hiding." Jake's voice was steady. "Consider it done. I'll have something for you in 48 hours. While Jake worked behind the scenes, Ethan confronted the officer assigned to Maya's case, a young detective named Rachel Marino. She seemed uncomfortable as Ethan approached her in the hallway. "Detective," Ethan said, his tone sharp, "why is my daughter being charged when there's evidence proving she wasn't driving?" Rachel hesitated. "Mr. Ellis, I understand your frustration, but the toxicology report showed alcohol in her system. And witnesses claim—" "Witnesses?" Ethan interrupted. "Or people paid to claim? Let me make this clear. If you don't reopen this investigation and do your job, I'll make sure you regret it." Rachel's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but Ethan's towering presence left her little room to argue. "I'll see what I can do," she muttered. As Ethan left, his phone buzzed with a message from Jake. "Found something. Harper's been covering for that brat of his for years. Sending you the files now." Ethan's lips curled into a grim smile. The Harpers had underestimated him, and now it was his turn to play dirty. Ethan Ellis sat at his kitchen table, a laptop in front of him displaying the files Jake had sent. The dim light illuminated his hardened features as he combed through the dirt on the Harper family. From shady business deals to discreet payoffs to Barry scandals, the Harpers had a history of using their wealth to avoid consequences. But the file that caught his attention was a police report from 2 years ago, a hit-and-run incident involving Leo Harper. The charges had mysteriously disappeared. The case quietly closed after a settlement with the victim's family. Ethan clenched his fists, rage simmering. This kid's been a menace for years, and they've let him get away with everything. Picking up his phone, Ethan dialed Jake. "These files are good, but I need more. Can you find anything on the officer handling Maya's case?" Jake's voice crackled through the line. "Already ahead of you. Detective Moreno's been clean so far, but the captain overseeing her unit? That's another story. Rumor is he owes the Harpers a few favors." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Keep digging, and send me everything." As Ethan planned his next move, Maya received an unexpected visitor at the hospital. Leo Harper. He arrived unannounced, his usual cocky demeanor replaced by a nervous edge. Maya's stomach twisted at the sight of him. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice cold. Leo raised his hands in mock surrender. "Relax, I just want to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," she snapped. "You threw me under the bus, Leo. You expect me to forgive you?" Leo sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I panicked, okay? My dad's handling everything. This will all blow over if you just stay quiet." Maya stared at him in disbelief. "You think I'm going to take the fall for you? You almost killed someone, Leo." His expression darkened. "Careful, Maya. You don't want to make enemies out of my family." Maya's fear gave way to fury. "Get out," she hissed, "before I call security." Leo smirked, but there was unease in his eyes. "Suit yourself. But remember, you're in this now, too." As he walked away, Maya's resolve hardened. She wouldn't let Leo or his family intimidate her. Ethan Ellis sat at his kitchen table, a laptop in front of him displaying the files Jake had sent. The dim light illuminated his hardened features as he combed through the dirt on the Harper family. From shady business deals to discreet payoffs to Barry scandals, the Harpers had a history of using their wealth to avoid consequences. But the file that caught his attention was a police report from 2 years ago, a hit-and-run incident involving Leo Harper. The charges had mysteriously disappeared. The case quietly closed after a settlement with the victim's family. Ethan clenched his fists, rage simmering. This kid's been a menace for years, and they've let him get away with everything. Picking up his phone, Ethan dialed Jake. "These files are good, but I need more. Can you find anything on the officer handling Maya's case?" Jake's voice crackled through the line. "Already ahead of you. Detective Moreno's been clean so far, but the captain overseeing her unit? That's another story. Rumor is he owes the Harpers a few favors." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Keep digging, and send me everything." As Ethan planned his next move, Maya received an unexpected visitor at the hospital. Leo Harper. He arrived unannounced, his usual cocky demeanor replaced by a nervous edge. Maya's stomach twisted at the sight of him. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice cold. Leo raised his hands in mock surrender. "Relax, I just want to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," she snapped. "You threw me under the bus, Leo. You expect me to forgive you?" Leo sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I panicked, okay? My dad's handling everything. This will all blow over if you just stay quiet." Maya stared at him in disbelief. You think I'm going to take the fall for you? You almost killed someone, Leo. His expression darkened. Careful, Maya. You don't want to make enemies out of my family. Maya's fear gave way to fury. Get out, she hissed, before I call security. Leo smirked, but there was unease in his eyes. Suit yourself. But remember, you're in this now, too. As he walked away, Maya's resolve hardened. She wouldn't let Leo or his family intimidate her. Back at the Harper estate, Jonathan Harper was already taking steps to ensure his son's safety. He met with the captain of the local precinct, sliding an envelope thick with cash across the polished desk. This case needs to stay closed, Jonathan said smoothly. My son can't afford this kind of publicity. The captain hesitated, but eventually nodded. Consider it handled, Mr. Harper. But unknown to Jonathan, Detective Moreno was already working around the system. She met with Jake Coleman in a dimly lit diner, where he handed her a flash drive. This has everything you need, Jake said. Bank transactions, communications between the Harpers and the precinct, it's all there. Rachel took the drive, her determination growing. If this pans out, the Harpers won't just lose this case. They'll lose everything. The next day, Rachel confronted her captain with the evidence. You've been taking bribes, and I have proof. If you don't step down and let me reopen this case, I'll take this straight to internal affairs. The captain's face turned red with fury. You have no idea what you're messing with, Moreno. Maybe not, Rachel replied. But I know I'm done turning a blind eye. Either you help me, or I take you down with them. Meanwhile, Ethan rallied his allies in the Iron Titans, preparing for a public showdown. With Jake's help, he leaked parts of the evidence to local journalists, ensuring the Harpers' corruption would make headlines. The tide was turning, and the Harpers' grip on the town was beginning to slip. As Maya watched her father fight for her, she realized just how far Ethan was willing to go to protect her, and she vowed to fight alongside him. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled with reporters, townsfolk, and people hungry for justice. Maya sat at the defendant's table, flanked by Ethan and their lawyer, Rachel Moreno's reinvestigation having uncovered a mountain of evidence that turned the trial on its head. Jonathan Harper and Leo sat across the room, their once imposing demeanor now tinged with unease. The tide had shifted, and they knew it. Rachel was the prosecution's star witness. When called to the stand, she presented damning evidence. The tampered toxicology report, bribe records implicating the precinct captain, and witness statements that corroborated Maya's account of the crash. The defendant, Maya Ellis, is a victim of a carefully orchestrated cover-up, Rachel declared. The true culprit is Leo Harper, who fled the scene of his crime and relied on his family's influence to shift blame. Gasps rippled through the room as Rachel detailed the lengths the Harpers went to silence the truth. When Leo was called to testify, he cracked under the pressure. The defense attorney tore through his excuses, exposing his lies. So, Mr. Harper, the lawyer said, pacing the courtroom, you claim Maya was driving, yet multiple witnesses saw you holding the keys that night. How do you explain that? Leo stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. I don't remember. Isn't it true, the lawyer continued, that you were intoxicated and unfit to drive, which is why you fled the scene and let your family frame Maya Ellis? Leo's silence spoke volumes. Jonathan Harper, seething, tried to interject. This is a witch hunt. My son is innocent. But the judge silenced him with a stern gavel. Mr. Harper, another outburst, and you'll be removed from the courtroom. The climax came when Jake Coleman took the stand, presenting a bombshell. A recording of a conversation between Jonathan Harper and the precinct captain. Make this go away, Jonathan's voice demanded in the recording. I don't care what it costs. The room erupted. The Harpers' ironclad reputation shattered in an instant. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. The judge's voice was steady as she addressed the courtroom. On the charge of vehicular assault, the jury finds Maya Ellis not guilty. Relief washed over Maya, tears streaming down her face as Ethan enveloped her in a protective hug. And on the matter of obstruction of justice and bribery, the judge continued, the court finds sufficient evidence to open an investigation against Jonathan and Leo Harper. The Harpers' downfall was met with cheers from the audience. Their empire, built on deceit and corruption, crumbled under the weight of justice. Outside the courthouse, a crowd had gathered. Reporters shouted questions, but Ethan shielded Maya as they walked down the steps. "How does it feel to have justice served?" one reporter called out. Ethan paused, his voice resolute. "This isn't just about my daughter. It's about standing up to those who think their wealth puts them above the law. Maya is free because we fought back, and I hope this inspires others to do the same." Maya stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tears. "I was scared to speak up, but I learned that the truth is worth fighting for. No one should have to face what I did." The crowd erupted in applause. As they returned home, Maya looked at her father with newfound admiration. "Thank you for never giving up on me." Ethan smiled, his rough exterior softening. "That's what family does, kid. We fight for each other." With the Harpers facing criminal charges and the town rallying behind the Ellises, Maya knew her life would never be the same. But she also knew she wasn't alone. Together, she and her father had overcome impossible odds, and nothing could stand in their way again. The sun set over the small town, casting a warm golden glow that seemed to reflect the fresh start Maya Ellis had earned. Life hadn't been easy, but in the face of betrayal, fear, and injustice, she discovered her strength and the unbreakable bond she shared with her father. The Harpers, once untouchable, were now a cautionary tale. Their wealth and influence had shielded them for years, but it was their arrogance that became their undoing. Jonathan Harper faced a slew of criminal charges, his empire dismantled brick by brick. Leo, stripped of his father's protection, pled guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence, his name now a symbol of disgrace. For the first time in years, the town began to heal. The once whispered stories of the Harpers' corruption were now openly discussed, their victims finally finding justice and solidarity. The Ellises, once ostracized, became symbols of resilience and integrity. Maya chose not to dwell on the darkness of the past. Instead, she channeled her experience into a mission to help others. She founded a community support group for those who had been silenced or wrongfully accused, ensuring that no one else would face what she had endured alone. Ethan, too, found a sense of peace. His fierce determination to protect his daughter had cost him sleep, energy, and countless battles against powerful enemies. But it was worth it. The bond between father and daughter was now stronger than ever, forged in the fire of adversity. On a quiet evening, Maya stood on the porch of their modest home, looking out at the horizon. Ethan joined her, his hands rough but gentle as he rested one on her shoulder. "You've come a long way, kid," he said, his voice filled with pride. "We both have," she replied, smiling. The road ahead wasn't without challenges, but they were ready. Together, they had faced down giants and won. No matter what came next, they knew they had the courage to overcome it, because they had each other. And in that moment, as the stars began to emerge in the twilight sky, Maya Ellis knew one truth. The shadows of the past could never dim the light of her future. Thank you so much for sticking with us and listening to this incredible story from start to finish. We hope it was as thrilling, emotional, and inspiring for you as it was for us to share. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like this video. It really helps us out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories just like this one. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite part of the story? What did you take away from Maya's journey? Drop a comment below. We read and appreciate every single one. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care and stay inspired.